Bradley Weidmaier, and I am a home care worker in San Francisco City County, and I'm a member of SEIU 2015. Formerly, I was in SEIU UHW in their home care division, and we were merged into Laphonza Butler's union, which was formerly United Long-Term Care Workers Union. And she had been sent out here to clean up a mess. And unfortunately, she did not do that. She was sent in 2009 because the former president had been convicted of criminal activity and sentenced to 33 months in prison. It should have been 33 years for stealing from home care workers who are minority women overall. And that gentleman, Tyrone Friedman, his right-hand man, Rickman Jackman, left to go to Michigan, and there were some questionable things there. And then SEIU spirited him across the international border outside responsibility for the things that he had done in the United States to Canada, to their division there. And so this is the kind of activity that SEIU has been doing. And Tyrone Friedman was stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from home care workers, the lowest paid. They're the lowest paid link in the home care and healthcare industry. And this is how they're treated. SEIU puts crooks over them. Well, Laphonza came out in 2009, and then 6 years later, SEIU put all of their home care sections together in 2015, SEIU 2015. And we were moved there, we didn't have any say. And we found out what kind of workers' politics that Laphonza Butler practices. She and her political staff asked the new United Home Care Workers, well, who do you want for president? This was in October of 2015, long before anyone was thinking about that. And most of the members had only heard of Hillary Clinton, and so they had a poll. They said, oh, this is going to be a fun presidential poll. Just say who you're for. It's just a poll. Well, guess what? Hillary was the only one known, and she won that, and all of a sudden it became the endorsement of our union. And then the international, SEIU International, which represents over 1 million workers, turned right around and made one of the most early endorsements of Hillary in October of 15. And when Amy Goodman asked her, why did she make this crazy early endorsement? Mary Kay Henry, the international president, said, who assigned Laphonza to our local, she said, well, our home care members, if Hillary's good enough for them, that's good enough for the rest of us. They're our most oppressed workers. But we didn't have a chance to even discuss the election of 2016 in October of 2015. This is the kind of politics that she represents. A year later, we found out that she was a Democratic Party national committeeman. She never happened to tell us about that. And we didn't have a chance to consider other candidates. So remember, Bernie Sanders was running. And I have mixed feelings about Bernie, but we didn't have a chance to have that political discussion. And this is the kind of politics that Newsom's appointment here, this surprise boom, bam, boom kind of thing. And that's how our officers are replaced in SEIU. We don't have elections about 11 months before there's supposed to be a change or an election. A new officer's appointed, and then only the people that are connected to the union are invited down to the union hall to vote. So the vast 90+% of the members are not even consulted to ratify who's already been selected. Kind of sounds like San Francisco politics, right? The supervisors, remember Carmen Chu? And her successor, and her successor, and on again. This is how the Democratic Party and the union bureaucrats operate. So we need a politic that is an assembly of workers that makes a program and that the candidates carry out. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because here in San Francisco, we are having autonomous vehicles imposed on us before they are safe. They'll come someday, but hey, look, Volkswagen and Ford have gotten out of it because it's not time yet. And why is that? None of these companies have sound sensors or acoustic or auditory sensors. And I asked police this morning, are you instructed to slow down at intersections because of the autonomous vehicles? Or is it a suggestion, maybe not an order? And they pretty much agreed that's happening. We need to know from Mayor Breed right now, is there an order to slow down first responders in the city, endangering the public further because they're making way for unsafe autonomous vehicles? And these Robos, who are the two that we have in San Francisco? The National Highway Transit Safety Administration has rated Waymo as the worst of the 40 Robo companies and Cruise as the third worst in the number of crashes, although Cruise may be catching up in that regard. We're getting false information every day from our media. I had to ask ABC Channel 7 to stop repeating Cruise's lie that they braked aggressively on Tuesday night when a sister was knocked out of a crosswalk and under a Cruise vehicle, and she was pinned under the rear wheel. And usually when you're under the rear wheel, it means the front wheel went over you. But they're not even talking about most of the details, like the fact that the Cruise vehicle, where it stopped more than 125 feet south of Market Street, where this woman was initially hit, had braked aggressively, according to Cruise. And the media's been putting that out and discussing that, which is disgusting because there's no speed that cars travel in San Francisco where it will take 125 feet to stop. And this woman had to be rescued with the jaws of life. And for her suffering, I'm going to place a memorial to this catastrophe in her life. And hopefully she will survive. But she was drugged some distance and probably run over by the wheel, and it is a mistake. So let's get back to SEIU 2015. I and all the members of that union have the right to attend all meetings of the union. And I went to an executive meeting and sat in the back. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't doing any disruption whatsoever. And Laphonza Butler turned to me and said, "Weidmaier, are you going to leave or do I have to call the authorities?" Well, I said, "You are disrespecting the membership and our Constitution that gives us the right to be here, to find out what's going on," which we'll talk about in a minute. And that under protest I will leave as to not further disrupt the meeting that you have disrupted by illegally moving to threaten to throw me out. And to spare the drama, I will leave. Well, she had some of her supporters shriek a few unpleasant things, but I was leaving anyway. So what are some of the things that has, SEIU 2015? We end up supporting candidates that block our raises, that stymie our benefits, that treat our sister union workers in the city to reduce benefits and wages and divide up the public workers. We need a united public workers union across all crafts and trades. It is way past time. And SEIU is not doing that. They divide up their categories. Now, back in LA, over time, there's been a very questionable development. One of the leaders in the Los Angeles local had concerns about what was going on with overpayment of vendors. And we're not talking about chump change here, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not more. And he told the international leadership, and I could name names, that this was going on. And they took 8 years to do anything about it until it was so bad, and the Los Angeles Times exposed how SEIU in Los Angeles was stealing from home care workers, the most oppressed division of healthcare. Black, Latino, immigrant, and other workers who are considered disadvantaged. So this person then, under Butler, was paid consistently, month by month, thousands of dollars over years. Some years it was up to $250,000. Was that to keep quiet about who he had told about Tyrone Friedman and the corruption, or what? Now, he supposedly was a consultant. He was paid as a healthcare consultant in San Francisco for helping with our contracts, yet he gets appointed as the education workers director of use of Cal State University East Bay. You know, he's a healthcare expert, and now he's the president of education. So this is the kind of shenanigans that SEIU represents. And as far as democracy in the union, it doesn't exist. We had a contract and a tiny, tiny fraction. They take the majority of the voters, but it adds up to very little. And we got some things. It wasn't too bad. But I had, in between the last contract and this one, been forced out of the union. And these leaders said, they told friends of mine that I will never be in this union again. Well, I'm here, I'm back, and I'm, unlike Laphonza Butler, standing for workers, not attacking workers like Laphonza did. And let's talk about her political career. Laphonza Butler probably was subsidized by SEIU to become the junior partner of Smith, Clegg, Rodriguez, and Butler. They're the people that brought you Jerry Brown. They're the people that brought you Gavin Newsom, Libby Schaaf, and on and on. So this is the kind of politics that they're representing. They are putting in pro-corporate people. And we've seen what Newsom has done. He has vetoed AB 316, which would have required that long-distance trucks, tractor trailer semis have drivers on the highway for delivery trucks anything over 10,000 pounds. So Newsom goes on and he vetoed the legislation that would give workers unemployment during strikes. After a number of weeks, too. It doesn't start right away. But Newsom is an anti-worker governor. Laphonza is a perfect fit. And that's why we need a workers' party today. We need a People's Assembly party that is a worker party that brings in the labor movement, those in labor who fight for workers, which isn't the junior senator of California.